Hello, everyone, and welcome so much to the She Heals the World talk show. My name is Izzy Seedon, and I'm thrilled to have our guest today here with us, the wonderful Susie Pearl. So Susie has such an interesting story. She's a brain cancer survivor, best-selling author, and a TEDx speaker. She is a speaker that tries to inspire others to live with courage, creativity, and purpose. And in her TEDx talk, she particularly shares the profound lessons about life and resilience, drawn from her near-death experience, leaving her body and returning fully healed after being given just weeks to live. She was a former celebrity PR, and she's worked with global icons like Madonna, Michael Jackson, and David Bowie, and she's founded a top-tier PR agency and led publicity at Sony and MTV Europe. Wow, it's very impressive managing A-list artists and high-profile events like the MTV Awards. She's also managing director of Paul McKenna's NLP training company, teaching transformational mind techniques alongside Dr. Richard Bandler, the creative NLP. And she's also an on-screen TV presenter, radio host for many years, and she's worked lots in front and behind the camera. So very, very talented lady with us today. But not only that, she's also an author. So she's written books, including The Art of Creativity, which was endorsed by David Lynch, Instructions for Happiness and Success, and Pharmacy Kitchen for the renowned pharmacy restaurant. She's an advocate for meditation, neuroscience, and conscious living, collaborating with the Cambridge University's Conscious Lab, and is a dedicated supporter of the David Lynch Foundation, helping bring transcendental meditation to the world. And she does have an upcoming memoir called I Lost My Mind, which will chronicle her near-death experience, radical healing, and insights into the mysteries of life and death. With a Hollywood film adaptation in the works. Wow, I'm so excited to learn more about all the things that you've done and how you've managed to achieve all this, Susie. So I'm so grateful for your time, because it sounds like you must be super, super busy. So thank you for coming on and talking with us today.
Pleasure. Really nice.
Thank you. Well, I don't suppose you could share a bit about, I guess, this journey from celebrity PR to, obviously the near-death experience obviously would have profoundly shaped your life, but to where you are today and your work within transcendental meditation, all this sort of stuff, so we can put together how it's all fallen together.
Yeah. It's even hard for me to remember how it all came together, because life is full of little paths, isn't it, that take you somewhere interesting, and you bump into certain people, synchronicities happen, and then bam, you're in a new scenario. I've just written my memoir, so actually quite a lot of weaving the stories together of how it all happened is quite uppermost in my mind. So yeah, I was doing a lot of work at MTV. I started off looking after Michael Jackson, and we just got on really well. And I got a reputation for being really good with artists. If you can handle that kind of stature of artists, then you're doing something right. So I had lots of fun at MTV working with music artists and just great people behind the camera and in front of the camera. It was wonderful days. And I loved it. It was high octane. And then I started at my PR agency. And within the first month, we had Sony, Madonna, the Spice Girls, the Prodigy, all these wonderful acts, because it was quite an unusual thing to put together celebrity, brand, and media. So these are in the early days of doing all these things. So I ran this company, and I had really big principles around having fun, being good at what we did, being honest, being trustworthy, and with a really great address book. And we did really well. The problem was that my phone rang constantly, 24/7. I was flying around the world all the time. And so living a normal life, let's say, was difficult for three reasons. One, my time, I was constantly being nudged and poked and asked to do things urgently. Secondly, it was very hard to share with anyone what I was doing, because it sounds crazy and other people lose the ability to resonate or be your friend, because you've just come back from Madonna's house and they've come back from their 9 to 5 and probably quite bored about life. It just made life quite difficult. And so social life and personal life became difficult. So I ran this high octane life for a few years, and then I sold my company to a TV production company and decided to come to my happy place, which is Ibiza, to relax and lie down and not have any meetings, not do any client calls and all this sort of thing. Then I was lying on the beach on the first day. I just relaxed and I'd sold the company, which was, it's a big piece of work to sell a company. It's quite complex. So I was tired and I was worn out with traditional work life and so on. And my phone rang when I was on the beach. I thought, oh, wow. Because it pretty much, after I sold my company, a few weeks afterwards, it went from a full-on phone never stopping to quiet. And I realized then that these were fair weather friends who could get access to all the parties and the beautiful events that I had guest lists to. But when that had gone, they kind of disappeared. So I was just waking up to this thinking, oh my Lord, these friends I thought I had are not really friends. So anyway, the phone rang. I thought, okay, let's see who this is. And it was Paul McKenna, my friend from London, the hypnotist and best-selling author. And he went, hello, darling, you all right? And yeah. And he's brilliant at, he's a master at state and at creating positive moods and states from which you can then create amazing things. So he got me into a wonderful state and we were laughing. He's very funny. He was telling jokes and stories and checking in and da-da-da. And I was laughing my head off. And then I was thinking, meanwhile, while we were talking, I thought, wonder why he's called me out the blue. I mean, he's a good friend, but he knew I'd gone abroad and left my corporate world. And he said, yeah, I've got something to ask you, actually. I'm like, okay, here we go. And he said, yeah, I wondered if you would, I need someone to run my training company, the NLP training company, because I'm having problems with my current MD and they have to go. I wondered if you're the most positive person I know, and you're really into this area of mind technology. Would you do the job? And I said, absolutely not. No, I won't. No, I have just spent years getting out of that to get on this beach. And I'm here now, just arrived. The sun's shining. I'm feeling great. No. And so this went on and I said no a few times, hard no. And then he changed tack and said, okay, well, I wanted to ask you as a friend, really, because there are things going on in the company that I really need to get addressed straight away. So as a friend, would you come and help? I'm like, oh God, he's got me. Any friend who says, I need help, I'm going to help. That's who I am. So I said, all right, I'll come over back to London, but on the condition that I just immediately step in, hold the reins, and I'll hire you a new MD, and then I will go. Is that all right? He went, yeah, okay. So we agreed that, and I flew back to London, and he picked me up in his smart Bentley, and we went to Nobu, and there he began hypnotizing me. And I started learning about NLP and mind technology and the power of our mind. And I sat in on the first seminar that the company did to begin to understand all of this. I was blown away. And wow, this is incredible. So neuro-linguistic programming, for those who don't know, although it's quite a famous field, is about the neurology and how we use it, linguistics, how we use language, and how we get programmed and how we can reprogram ourselves. So for me, this whole area was fascinating. And so when I sat in on the first seminar, I sat there and, wow, this material, this is what I'm meant to be doing. I get it. So we had lots of fun, Paul and I. We got on really well. We'd been friends for a long time, but we just get each other. So we spent the first few weeks, I was looking for a hire for the position. And I was kind of thought, you know what? I'm enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. I ended up staying for something like 6 years. I just had such a great time. And it was there really that I learned, I became a ninja at understanding how to run our minds for success, for happiness. And I'd already written a book on happiness and success, so I was already interested in it. But this journey into learning more about the systems of mind management, it just took me into an elevated state of excitement and being absolutely blown away with what I was learning. So I kind of adapted onto that and started really coaching a lot of people on how to get happier, get more successful, get clearer, manifest. And manifestation for me was a very interesting topic. And my first book, the Instructions for Happiness, was one of the first books on in our sort of current time on the technicals on manifesting. And it's a really good book. It's about frequency, vibration. We are what we emit in terms of frequencies, and how to change that, and how to actually create some really good outcomes, given that we run our whole lives run on the basis of what happens in our unconscious minds, our unconscious mind being extremely powerful. And most people just let it run riots, thinking about terrible things. Oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or all these kind of narratives we play. And I learned, bam, you've got to change this inner world. And when you do that, reality changes, the experiences you have changed. So this was a real revelation to me. I also, working with these amazing artists that I referred to, I was able to model and see how incredible people, incredible creators. I mean, we're talking Michael Jackson, George Michael, Madonna, these people who have stagecraft down, but they also have this secret source of accessing creativity and ideas and songwriting and so on. And I realized that there's a commonality with these kind of, let's say, geniuses of our time. I would definitely call them all geniuses. It's fascinating. And I got to see what their behavior and their mental loop sounded like, how they were conducting themselves, how they were talking about themselves and their work. And that really affected how I approach life. So I began really drilling into this and thought, I want to become an expert on this. I wrote the Art of Creativity. I was living in Ibiza, and I just sketched down the book. I had a literary agent, actually Paul's literary agent, who I knew really well because we'd done a lot of books. I'd helped Paul with his book meetings and book productions and creative. So I got a book deal very, very fast. And I then had this career of writing, and I realized I was good at writing and I had lots of interesting things to share.
Wow. So I I think I could just listen to you talk about your life for so long. So you started the writing, and then when did you get into the, I guess, the transcendental meditation aspect of what you've been doing as well?
Well, one day in my house, my life has been up and down. Like everyone's life is up and down. It's not all showbiz and
Yeah.
although there was a lot of that. I was in my house one day, and my friend who was disabled, and she couldn't walk very well. She'd lost a limb, and she was one of the happiest people I know, a very talented artist. And we were chatting one day, and my relationship was going into meltdown. And I was really upset. And I said, oh my goodness, I've got to keep this big PR agency running, got all these people relying on me for their income all the time. And I can't do it. And she said, here's a card of a TM meditator instructor. Try that. I did. I called them straight away because I was in a real meltdown. And I learned TM meditation. And I remember my first meditation, it was like fireworks going off in my head. It's like, wow, this is incredible. You finally got it, Suze. You slowed down. You've allowed your mind just to relax and to get into this deep, deep space. It was incredibly powerful. And I'd already learned a lot of hypnosis with Paul running his company. So I'd learned a lot about trance and altered states. And I found that meditation just took me to this wonderful state of bliss. And then I started working with the David Lynch Foundation. I actually, Dave has just passed, and the whole world is very sad, including me. I'm really going to miss him. How I met him, I did actually a talk at his ceremony recently, at his the ceremony to celebrate his life. And I was lucky enough to be one of the speakers there. And I told the story. How I met David was actually through Paul McCartney. was a neighbour of mine in Sussex, and our kids went to school together, and I had the joyous routine of seeing Paul every morning. We would stand under a tree, have a chat about life, the kids, everything. And one of these days that we stood under the tree chatting, he said, I hear from the headmistress at the school that you've written a book. I'd love to read it. I went, oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll get you a copy. So, well, I'm going traveling tomorrow. Why don't you give me a copy of it? And I'll read it when I'm up in the air. I said, fantastic. So I printed out my manuscript. It wasn't published at that point. And I put it into a Larry 60s folder, psychedelic looking folder. That's appropriate. And I said, there you go. And I thought, I'll Google where he's off to. He took it. And he said, oh, I'm back in a few days. I Googled, and he was off to the White House to play a gig at Obama's. And when he got back, he said, wow, I read your book. It's amazing. I gave it to my brother as well. And he said, you must connect with my friend David Lynch, who's doing this amazing foundation for getting meditation out to the world. I think you would really like each other and connect. So it was actually Paul who put us together, and I'm forever grateful for that, because David became he's a legend. He was a real mentor of mine. He collaborated on my book, The Art of Creativity, and I had a whole section on meditation. It's this book, and he gave me this beautiful quote on the front, which is great food for thought and action. Bless him, David Lynch. We all miss him because he was such an incredible guy. His idea for his foundation, is that meditation can bring peace and enlightenment to the world, and it can help people to navigate more easily this tricky world that we live in, which feels more tricky than ever with all of the news headlines. I personally choose not to watch the news in order to keep my brain settled and calm. I think that's far better than knowing what's going on here, there, and everywhere. I care very much about the world and what's going on in it. And I do a lot of, I'm working with Earth Today, which is a big nature protection organization, because I believe it's really important. We need to take care of our planet. And I think as we do more meditation and get higher consciousness, all of us, we get to realize what's important, and what's important is looking after our home, the planet. So that's what I'm involved with really a lot more now. And I use the wonderful foundation of meditation to access ideas, to keep myself calm and grounded, to give myself clarity around what I want, what I'm going to choose, and get into these powerful brainwave states. I love talking about brainwave states, because when we get into use particular brainwave states, we become incredibly powerful. One healing technique that I used later in my life when I got very ill is theta healing. Theta is a type of brainwave state. And I learned this amazing modality of theta healing, where you go into certain it gives you instructions and a protocol for going into particular brainwave states. And you can download new programs and delete the shitty ones. How good is that? So I've spent most days over the last 15 years doing theta healing with a buddy I learned with. She and I do sessions on each other and just work on our programs. And life is ever evolving, as we all know. Life is in layers, and there are days when things are going fantastically well, and bam, then something comes, and a mud pie comes in your face. So when the mud pies happen, I get working with my buddy Lizzie, and we get to find out what programs are behind us creating these bumps in the road that happen. So I think my job now is to communicate what I learned, and also to share ways that we can get mentally much more healthy, because for sure mental health is one of the hot points of our time. People are finding life overwhelming and very difficult. Running businesses extremely complex, and our lives have become extremely complex. So I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. So fast forward, I was in Ibiza, doing my work, writing my books, organizing book deals and so on. And then I started behaving a little oddly. I mean, I've always been a maverick and not a straightforward kind of person, but friends were saying, you were right. You seem to be doing, like I met a neighbor, for example, for coffee, and I was late. And she said, "You're never late. What's going on?" I said, "I couldn't remember the way to get here." And she went, "What? You come here most days." I said, "I know." And I bumped my car and I forgot where I left my car. She said, "Right, I'm taking you to get checked out." I said, No. I'm not interested in doctors. All that. She said, "Yeah, she's from Croatia and she's extremely strong. She can take no nonsense." She bundled me in the car. Before I knew where I was, I went to this bioresonance person in Ibiza. They checked my brain and there was imbalances. And she said, "You need to get this checked at a hospital." So I went, "Okay, thanks, but no thanks, I'm not going to do that." Lily's like, "Get in the car, I'm taking you there right now." She saved my life that day. I got in the car, went and had a brain scan, and a humongous tumor in my brain. So that was, and given 3 weeks to live. So that was a hardcore storyline in my life. And as I was going into the scanner, I prayed and I started to meditate. And I said, "Why am I going through this? Can you give me some sort of clarity on that?" And I was told, because you're an author and you have a platform and you will write a book and there'll be a movie of this story where you can inspire people about what happens when you die and how we can heal ourselves. We have the inner technology. So I'm like, "Ooh, okay." So I wasn't scared. And then I had these angels. I don't know if I can say angels, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had angels come in. And I was surrounded by this golden orb as I went into the scanner, and I got this information very clear. One, I'd have the first brain scan would be terrible news. Second one, much improved. Third one, completely clear. That was the information I was given. And then I hurtled into this horrific brain scanner, which is a cylinder and noisy and scary. So I felt quite calm and I went through. And when the doctor came to give me my first scan results, I said, "I know it's not good." He went, "It's really not good. Write a will, get your family here." So I did. And then through this process, I was meditating one morning on my bed in the hospital. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to leave my body." And I did. And my spirit just left. And I went up and out. And it was the most extraordinary feeling. I've written about this in this new book about what I saw on the other side. When we die, we go to our bodies may stop and stop functioning, but our spirit does not. It's infinite. It goes on forever. It's eternal. And that is very comforting for people who are losing people or have lost people. We do not die. There is no, that isn't the case. I experienced going to the other side. My spirit was free. I felt amazing. It's bliss up there. And I was given a choice. Do you want to come back or do you want to stay here? It's very lovely up there. But I have a son, a young son who needs me. And I wanted to be still with him. So I said, "No, I want to come back." Bam. As soon as I set the intention, and there's a clue in that about how the world works, intentions are very, very powerful. I had a white flash, came back into my body. And my brain tumor had gone and there was no scarring. And I have all of this documented by Cambridge University Hospital with scans. So, my brain cancer had gone. And I came back loaded with a lot of wisdom about life and dying. And I realized that my TED Talk is about what would you do if you had 3 weeks left to live? This happened to me. What happens is, you get very, very focused on now, this moment, and enjoying this moment. So my advice to anybody living their lives is enjoy this crazy journey. There will be ups and downs. There will be difficulties. There will be times when you feel fearful and all the rest of it. But you know what? Our job here is to be happy and enjoy ourselves. That's what being human is about. We're meant to be kind, compassionate, gentle, and use our brains for good. That's the essence. Everything else is just, candy floss and all the rest of it on the top. So I learned some big stuff, and I came back with no fear and a lot of wisdom. So I just started writing and writing and writing, and I've just completed this book. And I look at it. I've just been editing it this week. I'm thinking, I think this is good. I've written some good ones before, but I think this is the really good one. And certainly that's what my life is about now, is sharing with people. The reason I'm here today is because I want to share information that will make people's lives nicer and more meaningful. So yeah, that's
huge. I mean, where do we go from there? I'd say so much you've raised. I just
want to butt in if you don't
please.
Mind. So after all this, I suddenly got the all clear. I could go home. Yay! So I came back to Ibiza, where my house is, and I'd been gone for about 7 months with all of this shenanigans. And I came back, and it was Christmas time, and my friends were having a Christmas gathering. I said, I'd love to come. I haven't seen any of you guys for such a long time. The last time they saw me, they thought they would never see me again. And here I am, healed, cured. Wow. So I went to the party, and I went back to my house with my friend, and I hadn't stayed in my house for 6-7 months. So we were just sort of airing it and I came back to a humongous fire, which actually went through my whole house, gutted my whole house, and took everything in one night. I had the proper fire. And I lost all of my stuff, my furniture, my books, my paintings, my writings, everything in this one night. And the house looks like someone had painted it black on the inside, and there's piles of soot. So that was traumatic. I stayed in the hotel that night, not knowing where I was going to be, realizing I was homeless. I got through this cancer journey and successfully, and now this. And when we went back the following morning to take a look at the house to see what had happened, on the pile of soot, there was one card, which is the rebirth card. So if I didn't know what this fire represented in my life, I now did know. This was taking me back to ground zero. So I had to build my life from absolutely nothing. And the Ibiza community is incredible. It all came together. People were offering me their houses and to live in and help and clothes and so on. It was just wonderful. But I was sort of homeless for a while, albeit in a beautiful place and with beautiful people around me and kindness all around me. I didn't have any stuff, and I had to deal with that. It was very, very tricky. And then this was at the start of COVID, and so everything got locked down. And I had been locked down in hospital, wasn't allowed to go out because I was so frail. And now I was going through this global lockdown and pandemic without my staff. So I had to learn some pretty big lessons. So clearly my soul contract around coming into this lifetime was to learn a lot of stuff, share a lot of stuff. And I'm lucky that I've learned to write and talk so that I can share some of these things, so that other people can take advantage of them without having to go through all the pain and the trauma that I did.
Yeah, it's a lot that you've had to go through, but as you said, I guess it's to benefit people so they can maybe get a shortcut without, going through a terminal diagnosis and having their house burnt down. Wow, I mean, gosh, a big year. Then going into COVID. Wow, Susie, I mean, your journey is incredible. So I'm just thinking around. So obviously what we're trying to do is support other women with messages like yours that they want to share into the world. And your journey is very, very unique. But how would you say we can help other women that want to do things that you're doing, whether it is writing or speaking? What advice would you give for people? Because I guess it's interesting because you've had that sort of combination of having an incredible network, but actually, by the sounds of it, you've been creating your journey through the actual, I guess, from a a manifestation psychological perspective, and it's like, what's more important in terms of, feeding that side of you, and then that, I guess, maybe opens up the doors, or whether the doors are open. And do you know what I mean? Like, how do we translate your incredible life to other women on a similar journey?
Well, I think live life with courage and drop fear. And the mental narrative that we run is essential to keep an eye on and manage. We wouldn't put out such dreadful messaging if we were looking after someone else's brand that we allow through our own brains. There is a lot of, I talk to thousands of people about their monkey mind, what they say to themselves and so on. Don't. Only allow things to run through your mind that you are happy to have literally manifest into your life. Because believe it or not, and most people understand the theory, I was the same. I got the theory that our thoughts are creative, that I didn't then apply the correct strategy to living. But you must, because they are creative. So if you're telling yourself you're not very good, you're not good enough, or this always happens to me, this bad thing always happens to me, you are conditioning and programming your own mind to believe that and to create that. So don't. Think about what you do want. Think about in terms of what you want, and vision, and do vision boards, create, write, do all your art, do it. Don't hold back because of any monkey mind nonsense. That's just a recipe for not living your life fully. And I think who we hang out with is really important. Your community, the people you spend the most time with, you're going to end up the same frequency as them. So make good choices. And if there's people who drain you of energy drainers, walk away, change that. Be around people who bring you up. As women in business, in organizations, running things in the world, we need to bring each other up. We need to do as much as we can to hold up each other's hands, support each other, and bring each other up. And if we lean into a supportive, strong community of powerful, strong, good, compassionate, wise, powerful women and men, then we can experience completely a different realm and a different reality. So I think our job is to really make sure that whatever we put into our bodies, both in terms of through listening, watching, hearing, eating, consuming, make sure that it's high frequency. Meaning by that, I mean, makes you feel good, pulls you up. Anything that pulls you down, stop doing. Things that bring you up, keep going, keep going, keep going. And to know that the things that impact you in your life, which you think are difficult or challenging, are usually there to teach us things. So have a look, go, what am I learning here? Why do I keep meeting someone having relationships that keep patterning into this? For example, I had a relationship 3 times with a man with men who had double lives, just like my father did. I had to break that, but I had to keep visiting and before I woke up and went, there's a pattern here. I need to change this. We are all patterns of our past and our upbringing and our belief systems. So the good news is all of this can be changed. We're very dynamic. From one moment to the next, you can change your life. There's a lot of talk going on, great people, Joe Dispenza, people like this talking about change your words, change your life, change your thoughts, change your life. Yes, absolutely. I think this is very important for us to grasp. And this isn't just theory. This is a directive for how to live life. If life was to give us a good handbook about how to live, it's around this idea of everything happens in our consciousness. We have our front mind and our awareness through conscious mind. And underneath that, there is this huge field of unconscious, which drives a lot of our decisions and our behaviors. And it's really good if we tune to that and have a look at that and see what isn't serving us. Belief systems around money, around relationships, around health, around education, I'm not smart enough, or whatever the words are. this is the conditioning, and the good news is that we can change that. Bam. It's a decision. Just as my book, Instructions for Happiness, is a manifesto on being happy. If someone says to me, what is happiness? I say, it's a decision. You make a decision to be happy. You can look at any damn thing and go, this is, I'm choosing to be happy. And this is a very important, subtle nuance about life that we're not taught. Kids should be taught this in schools.
And so how, with our audience who might be juggling that sort of full-time job whilst trying to then set up their business, or perhaps, motherhood, and, it's so interesting around, when you, having had that near-death experience, coming back without fear and focusing on joy and just doing things you love. Like, how do people get into that, state when they're sort of trying to do everything?
I was the queen of that. I was juggling home, big career, running companies, single mom, living life, living it hard, and or living it not hard, but living it vibrantly. I was the queen of juggle, and many, many plates were spinning, and I was responsible for bringing home the bacon and the money all the time, and doing all the rest of it. It's more than a full-time job, say double job, and life is like this at the moment. There are many distractions. We're on phones, we're on computers, we're online. At least when I was growing up, we didn't have all of that. We were just playing and being with one another, and as humans are meant to be. But now with the digital world, everything's gotten very intense. I think now one of the most important things on this planet is for us to connect with each other, to connect and be friends, have friends, and offer ourselves as humans to humans to help each other, and keep life simple. Don't take on too much. Learn how to say no. And I do this a lot now. I look at what I'm being asked to do, and I learned this looking after celebrities. I have to say no a lot more than I said yes. We would get loads and loads of requests for all sorts. I had to filter through and go, just that one and that one. That's all we're doing. Do that with your life. Just stop saying yes to everything and make it simpler. Do less. Spend more time meditating and go with that moment of going slow. Twice a day, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Twice a day is the most powerful thing you can do. Taking a rest is one of the most powerful things you can do, because it allows the body to reset, and it reduces overwhelm, reduces fear and anxiety, and you'll end up with a much, much nicer life.
So actually making space to rest to then create, a better life with the priorities in the right place.
You have to. You can't just rush around like a headless chicken. You'll miss your life. You'll miss your kid's life. You'll miss the point. And Bronnie Ware, an Australian woman who was around people dying, and that was her thing. And she wrote a book about the regrets of the dying. All the same. Wish I worked less. Wish I spent more time with my family. Wish I'd spent more time and was more present with my kids. Yes, let's not be that person. Let's learn for ourselves that we've got to show up and be present with our lives. Smell the coffee. I literally smell the coffee every day to remind myself. I love coffee, and I go, oh yeah, it's good. And go for a walk every day in nature. I'm lucky I live on a farm, so all around there's birds and rabbits and like insects and things. So I go walking every day, and it just takes the edge off any stress I might be feeling. Suddenly, and breathing, of course, breathing has become very talked about a form of reducing anxiety. It's brilliant. If we can learn to be out in nature, be grounded, go barefoot if you can, and spend time with good people. Anyone who's irritating you, just find a way to get them out of your life. I would recommend. Or call them out on it. Say, I'm not willing to be spoken to like this, and it's not going to work. So I think we have to really manage things and actively slow it right down in order to notice life and to enjoy life. And imagine if you were to depart the planet shortly, would you be proud of running around like a headless chicken? And would you think that's a good thing to do? Probably not. So have a think about that.
I think it's such a valuable perspective that you're an authority to speak on, in that sense around actually having that experience is so powerful. And I guess people just trying to think from that perspective. We don't want to think about death, a lot of us, but actually that can throw everything back into how you live your life. So really, really valuable lessons that you're sharing with us. So thank you for that. I was wondering then, so as an author, and obviously you do lots of stuff, but how have you sort of been able to sort of grow, I guess, that sort of business side of your work? Is there specific things that you've done to promote yourself, or what are the strategies that have helped fuel like your success today?
Well, my career was for many years, decades, in fact, was in PR and media. So I get the doing press and doing podcasts and doing interviews with magazines and radios and stuff. I get all that. So I carried on doing that. As a book writer, the way the publishing model works these days, writing books, it's not a fast way. It's not a making money thing anymore. I've been mainstream published by traditional publishers, and the author is very low on the pecking order, really. We get paid after everyone else, publishers, and the ratios are crazy with really tiny amounts, and people aren't buying books like they used to, although actually book buying is increasing, and certainly podcasts and videos are huge. So really, my art and my creativity work isn't paying my bills. I'm doing other things, not rather than using my writing. I don't need to get paid for my writing per se. So it makes it honest, fresh, with integrity, and so I'm not needing to put something out that I'm hoping to get that will make me money. So I've done many things. I teach writing books. I teach how to get book deals and how to write a good book that will sell. And I do coaching and other things, really, to workshops and so on, and retreats. There's other work that I do over my media exposure that I work on. So and I've had a good history in my life of working in very high octane environments and getting paid well for it. So I've been very fortunate. Now I'm all about just being as quiet as I can whilst getting my information out to the world, but not rushing, not pushing, certainly not, just living a very simple life.
And actually, it's an interesting point, because when you say about book publishing, maybe not the route to financial abundance, but at the same time, it's
bestseller. Yeah, most people writing ordinary books are not making tons of money, and yet they're spending a long, long time creating. And AI, of course, is changing the picture. But I've read AI books, and you can tell they're not written through the heart. They're just bland and very little. And the industry is very worried about what will happen in 5 years' time, or whatever, 10 years' time, to the art of creativity. But I am confident that as human beings, we will continue to create. We'll continue to be creative beings. That's who we are. And get AI to help you, but don't get it to do the writing.
So what advice would you give to someone who's interested in sharing their message through writing a book? Do you think it is something that you'd recommend, or because actually you coach people on doing this, so tell us about if people are thinking, oh, I want to write a book, tell us about that.
If you've got this urge to write a book, you have to do it. You have to give yourself time and space to sit down and get it written. It's so important, because it finds you. You know, if you have this kind of mission to write, you've got to do it. You've got to show up. Otherwise, that will be a regret of the dying. You go, oh, I should have written my book. It's great to write a book. It gets you clear on your ideas. It's a legacy. You can leave it for others to read. And it can go now with digital deliveries. It can go everywhere in the world, you know, and it can inspire many, many people. And there will be someone who wants to read your book. People say, oh, I don't know, who am I? I was speaking to someone yesterday who was writing a book on a particular topic. And we were going through, and I said, okay, what are your fears? She said immediately, huge fear that I'm an imposter. Who am I to write this book? And I said, welcome to the author club. You know, everyone I speak to writing books have got some sort of monkey on their shoulder going, yeah, and who are you? You know, who wants to read what you've got? But everyone, there is someone wanting to read your work when you've written it. There is. And you have to, it's not about trying to sell millions and millions. It's about reaching and helping. If one other person gets something huge out of your work, job done. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, to write. And writing and books and texts and old wisdom has been with us since the dawn of time. And I really hope it will be with us for a very, very long time. I feel it will.
So, I mean, Susie, I feel like I could talk to you for days, but I'm conscious of time. So I wanted to ask our signature question, which is, what does healing the world mean to you?
I think healing is something that is happening on an individual level and a collective level. It needs to happen at both and all levels. There's been a lot of trauma, and there continues to be a lot of trauma with war and famine and killing and all sorts of really unpleasant, disturbing things that humans do. We have to heal from that. We have to also heal our land being saturated with poisons and sprays and chemicals. This is not good. This is why we have so much Alzheimer's and cancers and all the rest of it. Our food is covered in things it should not be covered in, particularly in certain areas of the world. I'm thinking of America and others. We have to clean up and heal our bodies, our minds, and our souls. And we begin at the food level, at the community level of how we deal with one another. We need to reduce the anger, the upset, the trauma, the grief that exists in so many strands in the world. And I think as individuals, you know, people say, oh, what can I do? I'm just one person, said 5 billion people. You know, no, we have to stand up. We have to get things done. We have to be the leaders of change. And we have to lead the charge about making humanity a better condition and heal humanity and the planet that we live in, the home that we are all living on. We have to. And we have to take personal responsibility and collective responsibility. And if you just make a little bit of change and start supporting your farmers who are producing organic, clean food, as against pesticide covered food, that's a real help. I now make sure that my rubbish is properly dealt with. I grow food. I buy from organic farms only. I don't buy processed. If you go into a supermarket and there's a big, organic area, what does that mean? Or house food area, what does that mean the other foods are? You know, we have to be selective and choose wisely to make really good decisions about our health and healing. Number one. If we don't do that, we will die. Simple. So it's important. It's important. And now is the time. We've got to start right now making this a priority.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it just even as you said, that change of where you buy your food from, that starts to heal your body because you're putting better things in it. It heals the soil because you're supporting people that are doing the right thing. It supports the community. So it as you said, it can just be, you know, even small actions, but they just ripple out to healing yourself and healing the world without even, you know, thinking that it's too much of a big deal. But then you can start to grow and make it bigger and bigger. So I really love that advice, actually. So yeah, I'm really powerful, and hopefully by sharing this with lots of people, we'll we will heal the world. So I wanted to ask, how can our audience support your work? Obviously, you've got this upcoming book. Tell us where they can find you and find out more.
Yeah, well, come to my website, susiepearl.com. And I'm on Instagram a lot, Susie Pearl X. So say hi, you know, get in touch. I love it. And check out my books, which are on my site. And my new book, which will be coming out soon. I don't know exactly when. I'm still just finishing the edit. And I'm going to self-publish this because I want to get it out speedily, because I'm doing a film in the summer about... it's going to be on Netflix, actually, which is really fun, about dying and the afterlife. So I want it available. And mainstream publishing, it takes a couple of years to get a book out, so I haven't got that time to wait. So yeah, check me out and say hi and interact with me on socials. I'd love that. And follow my work. Also, could you sign up for my newsletter on my website, and then you'll get to hear about all the juicy things coming up.
So lots of juicy things coming up. Really excited for you. And I mean, thank you so much for doing this, going through all of this on behalf of all of us. Really appreciate, you know, the message that you're sharing with the world on such an incredible life story. So Susie, really appreciate you. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. So, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm sure you've loved this conversation. So obviously go to susiepearl.com, find out more. And of course, be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more inspiring conversations with leading women in the wellness industry. And until then, take care and stay inspired. Thank you so much, Susie.
Thank you for listening to the She Heals the World talk show. To find out how you can grow your purpose-driven business, visit us at www.shehealstheworld.com.